We are about to get unpopular on this week's Unpopular Kids, talking about the hot button topic everyone wants to know about.
Go!
Guys, you gotta let me know.
Now
Now it's like, no.
Guys, welcome to Unpopular Kids. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Joven, and today we are going to be talking about the thing that everyone is just, it's caused so much controversy, so much back and forth. Is it good? Is it bad? We are talking about the changes to Instagram. What's going to happen? What is going to happen?
No.
That's not what we're talking about.
Oh, peek it down.
Well, maybe to my left, Nicole Z can tell me what we're talking about.
Today we're talking about Batman vs. Superman versus the critics versus the fans.
Yeah. Versus the almighty dollar.
The
Yeah.
biggest court case of all
Electric
time.
Boogaloo.
That's the only victory that matters.
Yep, it's true.
And I actually saw Batman v Superman with a good friend of mine, Mr. Matt Robb.
That's true. We imbibed and then we saw, and then I was very
Did you imbibe?
confused. We imbibed.
We in Bieber.
What confused you the most? You're like being drunk or the
Well,
first?
no, going in, I was like, okay, let's do this, and then he's levitated by bats, and we're like,
Yeah.
buckle up,
Here we go.
buckle up.
Did that have to be the first 30 seconds?
And keeping it unbiased, we have Flitz.
Hi. Bye.
Is.
This guy.
Yeah. And our very special guest this week, a very talented and knowledgeable man, filmmaker, runner of Geekscape.net, we have Jonathan London.
King of Geekscape.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I think
Geekscape is now under a monarchy, right? You're the king. You become the king.
I think it was always under a monarchy,
It's a
but
Londonarchy?
it was like that gang that only has one member. You know what I mean? Like you know the gang from like Short Circuit 2? Like we're basically that.
Okay, but they killed Johnny Five.
You know what? We're not without our ability to fuck shit up.
Fair enough.
But for the most part, we get our shit fucked
That's
up.
fair.
And in theme of this week's Batman v Superman episode, Nicole brought in her Batachu.
Yeah.
Batachu?
Golbatchu?
Go bat you.
Golbatchu,
Bless
yeah.
you.
This is really cool. I don't know where you got it.
Allergies.
I don't know how you got it or where you got it from, but
Where
it's,
did
it's
it
pretty cool. Like if you
Some
had
okay friends of mine.
just okay friends.
Okay friends.
Friends from OK Cupid.
Oh no.
Just okay friends.
Nicole, do they
I feel
have?
that offset now.
You know how like Pokken Tournament came out and they have the Lucha Libre.
The Pikachu?
Do they have a stuffed animal of that one?
I'm sure they will.
Probably. Why don't I have that though?
That's a good
That's the real
question.
question.
That's why I
a very
came.
good
That's why I asked.
Okay, friends, if you guys want to address that.
I want that one. I want that guy.
Now, normally in Unpopular Kids, we like to start things off with the lightning round, but honestly, when I was combing through questions and the hashtag, everyone was asking, what did you guys think of Batman v Superman? So we're going to actually skip lightning round, but that doesn't mean we're always going to skip
It
it.
was the
So I want
fastest
you guys...
lightning round
Yeah.
we've ever had.
Literally the fastest.
Lightning round actually came from the future in a dream to tell us that we're all wrong.
But it came too soon.
But remember, guys, you can still tweet us, you can still leave comments, use the hashtag UnpopularKids, and we're going to pull those questions next week.
Or the hashtag unpopular kids.
Unpopular.
However you want to pronounce it,
Yeah.
we're cool with it.
Yeah.
It's all spelled the same way. You send us
Sure.
questions, we'll answer them here. Just this week, we're answering the big question, Batman v Superman. What happened? Was it good? Well, let's first look at one of the major positives. It has made so much money.
Yeah.
Which I don't think was ever going to be a doubt in anyone's mind.
I kind of doubted. Well, it was funny. We all talked about on Friday when the reviews came out.
Oh, wait,
Thursday
hold
when the
on.
reviews came out.
Just a heads up, guys. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Here is your alert.
100%.
The movie's been out for a week. I
Yeah.
assume you're one of the $200 million that went to go see it.
$424 million.
As of
There you
like
go.
opening weekend.
Yeah.
So
In that case, you've been warned.
You've been warned. No, I think that everyone, the joke was like, this is going to be the most refunded advance ticket sales of a movie ever made. It's surprising. I honestly, I don't know what the score is, but I feel like this is possibly one of the lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores, highest grossing movies of all time.
But
Well,
it's
and the
still a beautiful
IMDb
Hans Zimmer
score is
score.
very high.
Half of it. Half of it. Half of it. Hans Zimmer came in for a day, and then the rest was done by Junkie XL, which is like 5 guys in a garage in Santa Monica.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so we did think it was going to do as well, but it destroyed, unfortunately, Deadpool. And I'm going to say this now. I thought Deadpool was a better movie.
Boo.
But yes, made a lot of money. And I don't think on that principle alone, like we're gonna go in. This is a review. We're gonna be talking about the good and the bad, and then the really ugly of this movie. But I don't think the fact that it made a lot of money means essentially that it's a good movie.
Right, Man of
also,
Steel made almost $700 million.
And you also have to take into account that Deadpool's a massively more profitable movie.
Yes.
Like the money
Oh,
that
yeah,
went into
that's
Deadpool
true.
isn't close to the amount of money that.
Well, how
went
much
into Man of-
merchandise will
Batman
Deadpool
versus Superman.
sell versus Batman, Superman, and
Always.
Wonder Woman?
I think a lot.
It's
Oh,
also
yeah.
it's also
More?
something because it's an R-rated movie, so you
Yeah.
already have like a gate of entry that's very difficult to pass with kids, and that still made that much money. It's still an accolade. It's still huge.
Did you see the chart where it showed like the profitability of like superhero movies, and Deadpool had just made
I
5,
haven't
6,
seen that. I
7
It was done with like
times. It
7
was
nickels and a box of coffee.
it was so much.
Canadian nickels.
It was shot in Canada. Yeah.
Loonies.
I do. Speaking of like Deadpool being an R-rated movie, and this was PG-13.
Yeah.
Even though it's PG-13, this was not a kids movie. Like if a child is in this theater, they're gonna be like, "What's going on? Why is Lex Luthor talking like Shakespeare all the time?" Like it's not made.
It's a
for
valid
kids.
question for a 9-year-old.
What kind of Shakespeare have you been reading? 'Cause Lex Luthor.
It's Shakespeare by Max Land.
He talked like Edward Nigma.
Maybe
at
more
times. I
Enigma
was
than
like, oh.
Shakespeare. Okay, well that's what did we like about the movie besides the Lego Batman trailer?
Aesthetically, it was very. I love the visuals of it. I thought there was interesting color juxtaposition in all the scenes, and it was shot in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
Visually, it was a very interesting
Snyder draws
movie.
a good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good illustrator.
And there
Yeah.
were parts where I'm like, am I watching like Terrence Malick's Batman versus Superman? You know, because the poetic poetry of the poetic poetry, the
Beautiful,
poetry
man.
of all the visuals is pretty nice at times, and that carries over from Man of Steel. I think what I find positive, and I did really enjoy the last third of the movie when things got simplified to just punches.
what the movie
I
should
really
have been.
actually kind of enjoyed it, but I think. The entire movie, I really liked what they were aspiring to do, which is elevate the superhero genre to something that was at times artistic, at times it was multi-layered. You know, this thing has really turned into where these major companies, Fox included with the X-Men and Deadpool now, and Fantastic Four attempts and this and that, are trying to make these movies 2 times a year. If you have a superhero like license, you're going to make 2 big superhero movies a year or more. And it has this tendency to just kind of turn into the same tone and in cookie cutter
Yes.
quality. I like the fact that Warner Brothers and DC Entertainment said, we're going to try and elevate this. Do they need to go mature? Well, I think that's a problem that's been been a part of the comic book community since the early 90s, in that they're trying to get out from the stigma of, we're for kids. So now
Even
they're
the
only
Tim
for
Burton
30 and
Batman
40-year-olds.
movies. Yeah, even the Tim Burton Batman movies were not for kids.
Yeah, and as
was
much
dark.
as this movie made, I feel like they left money on the table by making this movie not something you bring your kids to.
Agreed. But I feel like just because of the iconography of Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, people are still going to buy that stuff.
Yeah.
Like you could literally have Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck playing chess in a park for 90 minutes, and people will still buy the stuff.
Right.
Even be a
But I think
better
it's
movie.
hard. What?
Might even.
Well, it's fun. We'll get there. In my movie, they do play chess. No, I think
Rook
that-
of Justice. I'm trying to name that one.
Yeah, it's hard. Rook of Justice. I think it's really difficult to try to pull something like that off because they are trying. It felt so reactive. Everything they did felt very reactive, and maybe that's just because of the chronology of the fact that we've had Marvel movies setting up a universe for the past 10 years, but it felt very reactive. It's like, oh, well, they're going to go very cartoony, we're going to go badass. They're going to introduce all these characters throughout all these movies, we're going to do it in one movie. They're going to like allude to a bigger evil coming down the line in 3 movies from now, we're going to do it. Like everything is in one movie.
And I think you can do that, but it's very easy to get wrapped up in that and
Yes.
losing what makes these things strong, which is the simple iconography, the simplifying of the plot lines. Just because the plot line is simple doesn't mean that it's told poorly.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's dumbed down.
Right.
You can tell a very simple plot, and I mean, some of our most favorite pieces of literature, some of our most favorite movies are very simple stories, and even Deadpool, which we talked about earlier, is a massively simple story, but the fact that it's told out of sequence
Right.
Yeah.
gives it a little bit of texture to it. And I like the fact that DC, and I like Man of Steel, I own Green Lantern on Blu-ray. I like the fact that there's a different texture to these movies and a bit of a different tone. That doesn't mean that it has to go, at times, sadistic.
Well, even with that with the tone and how dark and gritty it was, I was actually kind of bummed. There's one point in time I saw this movie twice this weekend. Once opening weekend, and just, you get all the the
As I
lights
said,
and sounds.
sadistic.
And I saw it a second time because I took my dad to see it. Because I just had a lot of questions. I was confused. I was like, wait, what? How did we get to this point? And it made more sense the second time. But I did have the thought of, it's unfortunate that I feel like the rest of the DC universe, cinematic universe, is going to be as dark and gritty as this is. Like it. Marvel has a certain tone to their movies, yes, but like it has color, it has jokes, it has, I don't know, character.
Yeah.
And I feel like moving forward, we're just gonna have Batman v Superman, that tone across all the rest
Well,
of the
the problem
movies.
is that they use stuff like the Frank Millers of the world to create this tone 20 years ago, right? They're looking at the most popular books of the last 20 years, Batman Year One and Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that, and going, oh, this has got to be our universe, rather than looking at like the 40 plus years prior to that of colorful superheroics, Batman in a rainbow costume, stuff like that.
Successes that they've had since like All-Star Superman is
Yeah.
a great celebration,
Yeah.
or Superman for All Seasons. You know, I think the stuff that Berlanti is doing on television is just, I mean,
Amazing.
It's great, and the one out that you can give yourself is, hey, we're creating a multiverse, and they've said that many times. This is all part of a multiverse. Even the cinematic movies are going to look like this. The TV's going to look like this. I mean, we're recording this on a day when Supergirl and Flash are crossing universes, and
Yeah.
they're different. Is that a get out of jail? I don't know. We still have that Berlanti Blue Beetle Booster Gold movie that got greenlit. I think that one could be the Guardians of the Galaxy. Whether or not it's tied into the same universe as what we saw this weekend,
Right.
I don't know. But I'm really looking at it as a beacon of hope because
Even
I think
James
he's
Wan has
really
said
talented.
he's like, guys, like almost again reactive. He's gone out on in public interviews and stuff and said, my Aquaman movie, which he's doing, Jason Momoa's Aquaman, is going to be way lighter. Don't worry, it's going to be super light. Like I made Fast and Furious. I know how to make funny nonsense movies.
I still want him to kill whalers. I still want Aquaman to be like the anti the Cove. You know what I mean?
This
Like, I just
isn't
want-
for research.
He's like, oh, you like hunting dolphins? I like hunting you.
Nice,
Yeah,
yeah. It could be great with his flowy hair in the background. I think there is a way to do it. I agree that I feel like this movie, as setting up the universe, is it's putting us in the wrong direction because it's so dark. And there are people out there, there are people in the comments probably, there are people that replied to me on Twitter. They're like, no, this is great. I don't know what you're talking about. This is what we need. We don't need campy
They're
Marvel.
typing that as they're putting on their
I,
brains.
if and looking into it, if you think about when you read trades, when you read the books, and you read something like Infinite Crisis, it's a big deal. It's the Justice. It's setting up the Justice League movie. It was a Justice League movie. It was a Justice League Origins movie. So it was a big book. The individual books, they usually have the different artists who have the different tone that set up the characters. And then when it comes to the big picture again, you know, the thing with Luthor and at the end he's coming. It's like we've read Infinite Crisis, so it opens up a whole bunch of doors to opportunities. I feel like,
Which, if you haven't read it, read it.
yeah, if
Before
you
that
haven't read it, read
Identity
it.
Crisis gets really dark. Like that's worth reading.
Anytime a DC comic character is sent crazy because of rape in a shiny,
It
bright
happens.
comic is like intense.
And that's where I mean, you look at they're setting up Batman as well. Watching it and thinking about the tone, I'm excited for a Batman. As much as I may not have thoroughly enjoyed this Batman v Superman movie, I'm excited for a Batman movie because of the tone it showed it has potential for.
Agreed.
That's definitely a positive, yeah.
And I can say that I can see the potentiality in it. And looking at this from a comic book, as a comic book, this dark arc makes sense. It was just, for me personally, too predictable.
I feel like the DC universe. I mean, yes, this movie was very, very dark, and it's nice that Aquaman won't follow suit. I think we see Suicide Squad is kind of in this like its own identity crisis of like, do we be a dark movie or are we going to be the silly Deadpool Guardians of the Galaxy movie? But I did see that in this movie, in Batman v Superman, it wasn't so much that they went for a dark tone as much as I feel like they were trying to parallel our own news cycle. Like there were these terrorist attacks in big cities where buildings were being destroyed in the aftermath of that, and then there's this mysterious attack in the desert, and we're trying to blame people at Senate hearings, and it was very Benghazi.
People
And
questioning God.
It was very much
against-
like
yeah.
a reflection of us, and I feel like that was intentional. And if that's something that DC is going to do going forward, because we see Marvel, I don't feel like Marvel Marvel's
exist
so
in
much
this
more
world.
colorful
Yeah.
than us.
And maybe it doesn't exist in this world
But,
at that
yeah, DC's
level of severity.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
so-
ironic because in the comics and Legacy, it's always been Marvel is the one that mimics reality the most. They've got New York City, they've got LA, they've got all these things that take place in these actual real worlds, whereas DC.
We have National City,
Yeah,
Metropolis,
it's always been
Gotham.
nonsensical parodies of these places, right?
Right.
Metropolis, Gotham, all these different places. It's never really supposed to be one-to-one. And it's interesting because being a fan of comics for 30 years, they've flipped.
Yeah.
They've gone in a different direction. The whimsical, nonsensical Batman fighting Joker on a giant piano has now gone into this weird, like, backwards place, which I think is interesting.
And
And maybe that lends itself to the reactionary comment that a lot of people are saying, oh, this is reactionary, it has to be other. I think you have such a diverse group of creators, characters, such a rich history. You can be a lot of things, and I hope that they are a lot of things. And I think that the television has proven that they can be a lot of
Yeah.
things. And Arrow's pretty different than Flash,
Yeah.
which is pretty different than Supergirl, and
Ivan
and very
Empire.
different than when we had Constantine. I thought Constantine was great.
Yeah.
I was, and
I still haven't watched it.
I liked his crossover episode.
I loved it, and I think that there's so much richness here to at the end of the day, the problem is maybe the greatest superhero ever created still hasn't been ankled in the last 20 years of representation.
Squirrel Girl?
Superman. But there's a problem with Superman, and I think the problem is just this reluctance to just embrace him for what he is.
Agreed.
Well, and you're right, and I think that almost gets lost in the tone of every Superman movie that has come out since the 80s.
Christopher Reeve, since the second one probably, even though that's the first two Superman movies, I don't really put on the altar that everybody does, because it does have some wonky stuff in it, like him going backwards. Like
That's a bad suit,
he
man.
does like
Greatest
he does like a
line
Bill Cosby kiss on Lois.
Yeah.
It makes her forget. It's like weird.
Yeah.
But
Oh, topical.
Also,
but Superman,
Sorry, I got the idea.
Superman at its core, when I was watching this movie, he doesn't have much to do. Clark has a goal. He wants to investigate more of the Batman of Gotham, but
I'm sorry, just the Bat of Gotham.
yeah, the
they
Bat of
never
Gotham.
say Batman.
Bat person,
Perry
gender
kind
is
of-
fluid.
Perry puts a stop to that. Superman is really reactionary. He's there to save Lois. He's there to fall into Lex's trap and
Sure.
manipulations, which is so novelistic and I think really, I don't know. He's kind of an oblique character in this,
Yeah.
and I wanted more Superman. It's tough to define a character through action, which is the best way to define a character, when he does show up to save people from a flood, but you don't actually see him saving them.
Yeah.
He hovers above them. It's still mysterious.
More of those Jesus
Superman should
iconic moments where you
Superman
see him
shouldn't be a
against the
mystery.
sun.
Superman should be the most clearly defined version of who we want to be.
Yeah.
Well,
and when he walks in and Lois is naked in the bathtub, first 10 minutes of the movie, I kind of don't want the implication that Superman's about to have sex. Superman to me is the guy who's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm way out
He's a
here.
Boy Scout.
He did
He's
keep all
very
his
much
clothes
a Boy
on,
Scout.
so-
They talk about him.
really
not how you
they
do
talk
it.
about him saving cats out of trees. I think this movie, the first 2/3 of this movie, were really benefited from actually seeing him rescue a cat from a tree, and them saying, wait a minute, there's this societal need of him, and we're bringing him up on trial, and there's this ideal of him, and now you actually see the two sides, because this movie really just throws a lot of tomatoes at him, and you wonder who's
Rat
rooting
ones.
for Superman. The thing about the whole, I don't know, we can really go into plot here, but really, when I saw the trailers felt like when he's in these Senate hearings, he's going to be brought up on the destruction of Metropolis, which made a lot of sense. In the movie, you actually realize he's brought up before the Senate committee based on what happened in Afghanistan, which
one decision.
was a secretive operation.
Where people died by bullets.
And they're
He
probably
doesn't
going to
even
die
have-
from drone strikes anyway.
Yeah, let's jump into it
And
because the timing is all
plot
wrong.
is so
because
novelistic
it's
that
novel,
you really
but
have problems
the
with it.
timing is very wrong
Yeah.
because they have that moment happen in Afghanistan, and then it's almost being portrayed as if it's being told in a testimony in trial. Yet Lois just gets home and takes the bullet out of her. Like, there's a lot of timing issues. There's a lot of problems. I think a lot of that stuff could just get thrown to the wayside. I don't think any of it, even the explosion of the Senate, none of that. Holly Hunter, none of that stuff was really crucial.
I think
to the
you
story.
said something really smart this weekend when I
For the
saw you.
first time in my
well,
life.
We all aspire to be great. but I think you said there's a 90-minute cut down of this, and I think the first two-thirds are problematic.
Yes.
In
Minus
that,
dream sequences.
at the end of the day, this is just a movie where Lex tricks Superman into fighting Batman.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
And I think it's
exactly.
it's a solid 90-minute death of Superman story. I think like there's a lot that you
Solid
could
in a
play
lot of
to.
ways.
Yeah, it could be really, really good, and it could actually give you a care. I feel like we could talk about the trailer stuff, but I feel like wasting Doomsday in the trailer ruined the end of the movie for me because everyone had
hands down.
3 months to figure out. Oh, Doomsday's in the movie. They're obviously going to kill
Now,
Superman.
again, going back to talking about how we were just throwing stuff into this movie, or not we, but the creators were just throwing stuff into this movie. The Doomsday plot was there was no drive behind it. Much like a lot of the actions in the entire movie, there was no drive to do it. Lex Luthor makes this Doomsday, but why does he make Lex Luthor?
Well, keep in
Child
mind
having a temper tantrum.
Keep in mind that Lex, it's applied that Lex knows about the coming of Darkseid, and that something is coming.
I have no idea what that is.
And we'll get to that because the clarification wasn't very clear at all. We're going to talk about the dream sequence. But if Lex knows that this other world is coming, or this godlike being in Darkseid and his parademons are coming, and he needs to collect these files, which was a part of the plot line that introduced Justice League. He needs to collect files
And create logos for
these
each of the
metahumans.
heroes.
Yeah, can we Photoshop this? He's collecting information on these metahumans. Why would he remove Superman from the board, him being the most powerful one? But I understand, you have a mistrust of Superman, he destroyed Metropolis.
Sure.
Great. Your plot to get rid of him is pretty circuitous in that you're going to plant a bullet, you're going to kidnap Lois, you're going to put her in Afghanistan. It starts to really kind of get away from it. And let's keep in mind, like, Chris Terrio wrote Argo. The dude is super talented.
Yeah.
It feels like there were a lot of masters trying to be pleased with this story, and all it turned out to do is start sending it in these different paths.
Yeah.
And none of those paths kind of made any sense.
Well, they didn't pay off because they didn't get enough time.
There's either a super short and super clear version of this movie, or there's a very long version of this movie where it seems like this is almost like a Watchmen.
Matt, you said the original cut of this movie is 6 hours long,
Yeah,
right?
the cut that all the executives saw is 6 hours.
I'm in.
6 hours.
I'm in out of curiosity, but I'm in because there were, again, things that were gone for in this movie. They were going for that were just noble. Like, let's try and elevate it. Probably. It'll be on 3 Blu-rays.
Yeah, they'll do a release, and a director's release, then a hard R release, and the super release.
What are the noble things that they were going after? Like for me, what I wanted to have explored more was who owns Superman? Who does Superman actually work for?
Who's the answer to?
Yeah, is that going to be explored? And I feel like that's what Civil War could be.
And he's answering those questions too. And Superman spends a lot of time asking those questions in this movie. But the tools that are established over, 70, 80 years of Superman weren't used.
Yeah.
Superman goes to the Fortress of Solitude and he talks to his father. But we didn't have that. We had him doing the Rocky IV training sequence up the side of a mountain and talking to Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Who,
They're both cold places.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's like-
like,
it's like-
not do one of his dads.
I was like, oh, well, that's close, but it doesn't satisfy the need that we
that's
have.
not- that
And
hasn't- he
it
hasn't-
doesn't quite work yet. Like, Jor-El has the answers, and then you start to get into the problem. And let's keep in mind, Doomsday is not the only, that wasn't the only creation of Doomsday.
Also, that was a Gears of War boss. Like, let's be real. Like, that's what that was.
Hey guys, can we do superhero math real quick? The movie establishes that human DNA plus Kryptonian DNA equals Doomsday.
Monster.
And guess what? There was a sex scene early in the movie where, Superman just had sex with Lois Lane. 9 months later, Doomsday! Yeah! Dude, they're gonna make a Doomsday baby.
Tuesday?
Doom's
He's called
Night,
Tuesday.
Batman trains him.
There's things in that movie that there are things that are just like, wait a
Get it?
minute.
I get it.
And you can pick it. Is it a satisfying setup for a Justice League?
No, because the last line is, I have a feeling. That's not how you set up another movie.
Well, I think the feeling was the dream that he. Now let's
No,
talk about the
no.
dream.
Understand-
We'll get there. We'll get there.
No, we're not there yet.
Matt,
We're not
lead
there
us
yet.
through this.
Well, no, I think we haven't really. Did we really talk? We're gonna go into the piling on shit of this movie. Did we really talk about all the things that we liked?
Well,
'Cause
I wasn't
think
going to shit on a dream.
Okay.
It actually gives Batman the superpower that no one ever knew he had. He's a dream walker. He has foresight. He sees the future, and he lives in fear.
So
and
there's a
sleep.
fan theory that it's not the future. That it's actually okay. So there's it's going around. It's Collider, right? There's an article that actually, and normally I toss fan theories to the side, but there's a lot of stuff that actually supports this theory. Where the dream sequence, let's just go into it. The dream sequence is actually not a dream sequence. It's the multiverse collapsing in on itself because they've established there is a multiverse. So this is a parallel outcome that folds in on itself, and that's Flash actually brings it because that's Flash. That as bad as the costume may look, that is actually
It wasn't.
It looked like Iron
It wasn't
Man.
a costume. It was armor, and it may have been a part of Cyborg.
true.
You know, because Cyborg has now been combined with a mother box,
he
which you
can make
see in the
boom
movie.
tubes.
Right.
You see Cyborg being combined with a mother
Miles
box.
Dyson's messing around
in
with
the
it.
in the yeah. Well, I was going to say Dr. Stone, but you see that sequence where he introduces Cyborg and he's up on that machine.
Yeah.
And his father's trying to save him, and the mother box combines with him. And the mother box allows you to jump dimensions. It's great. We can get
that's
into
what
it.
that is. Okay.
And
See, I didn't even know that.
It's from Apocalypse.
So
see.
let's talk about that dream because it is Flash from the future using Cyborg's boom tube ability
Boombox, of course.
to come back to the present to tell Bruce.
He was right.
He says you're right about him,
But
which is
who is
implied to be
he?
Superman.
But it's not. See, so that's the theory. It's
You think he's right about Lex?
he's right. No, he's right about
Apocalypse.
Darkseid.
Darkseid.
So he said,
Sorry.
fear him, right?
Apocalypse is an
So the
X-Men movie,
theory
sorry.
is,
Looking forward to it.
that I know, and this is a problem. This is the problem.
Panicking.
It's getting
I
very
need a
convoluted.
whiteboard to
I know.
connect the
Which
formulas.
is the thing that every Berlanti show does. We just draw two Earths, and then we go this.
It needs to be a clear whiteboard.
And it helps so much.
But the problem is, okay, so Flash actually brings that premonition to Bruce in his dream because he actually comes back too soon. He comes back to try to warn him, but he even says, am I too early? Am I too soon?
Yeah.
He says that in the sequence. So
What does he say about Lois Lane?
Well, he says that
it
she's
was
the
Lois.
key.
She's the key. So what the theory
It's
is...
her ring.
I want to hear your
No,
theory.
it's
you tell
injustice.
Me I'll tell
Well,
you
the
our
theory is
injustice.
it's injustice. Is that Darkseid uses Lois to have Superman become his puppet and create this kind of Red Sun-esque Superman. Red Sun was another miniseries where what if Superman grew up in Russia instead of in Kansas and becomes this evil totalitarian? Basically, the
It's
character
worth
that we
reading.
saw. Yeah,
So worth reading.
Red Sun, that's a good name.
it's a good name.
Yeah.
It's S-O-N.
S-O-N, yeah.
Like a son of
'Cause
the
he's a
Red
son.
Mother Russia. Sorry.
On board.
So that's the theory is where he goes back, and then that all alludes to that because even Wonder Woman says, I've fought beings from other Earths.
Yeah.
And then there's the mother box that shows up for Cyborg. There's Flash going back. There's all these things that kind of play into
Well,
that
I feel
theory.
like that
Gentlemen,
Wonder Woman
that's
line was actually just. I'm sorry. This makes my brain hurt trying to explain the
And
movie
he's
just as
seen
much
the
as
movie
watching
twice.
the movie.
He
But I
saw
feel
the
like
movie
twice. I feel like the Wonder Woman line was just implying
Captain
like,
Woman?
hey, this is what happens in my Wonder Woman movie that comes out later, but takes place in the past.
Which, if they're going to do that, why wouldn't they play into this Darkseid thing?
Well, I worry that. I don't worry. I actually think that you can marry your theory and my theory. That my writer Jake Lopez threw up on our website is that he is talking about Superman, but Superman has gone in justice because of the death of Lois, and that Lois is the key in keeping Superman hopeful.
Yeah.
Because the entire movie is about she's my world, she's my world, she's my world. It may be like one of the few things Superman actually says in his own movie, which is tough because again you get to this problem of a very passive, reactive protagonist. Bruce has a goal. He's going to find the white Portuguese. He's going to find a way to...
Which we got to see Bruce Wayne being a detective.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
we're going to have Batman try and find a way to defeat Superman. Lex has a goal. It's a bit... convoluted, but he has a goal. Wonder Woman has a goal. She needs to get rid of these Snapchat photos she lost from like
She's
the
seen those
first...
Snapchat nudes.
It's I don't
got a
understand
photo
that
of that
plot.
one.
Because can't she just be like, oh man, it's like Keanu, man. Pictures look like me.
She just gotta own it. She's like, that's my mom. But
okay, yeah.
But at the end of the day, Clark barely has a goal to bat Gotham, but Superman does not have a goal. And the motivating factor there, he doesn't really have a goal until
But he
the
does.
end.
The problem is he does have a goal, but his
does.
goal is Lois. He even establishes when the Senate blows up, he's like, the question is, did I actually hear it? Could I have stopped it? Did I even want to? Probably.
Well, so look at it from a reflecting point. Look at it from a reflecting point, right? It's you're a god and you're not paying attention to the smaller people. That's why Batman, they were judging each other, but they're both the same. It's just one is working on an omnipresent sort of level and he's missing the smaller ticks, whereas though Batman, he's very in tune and he's always aware and he's making sure the smallest things are always in order so no one gets hurt.
I agree with you, but ultimately, if you know Superman, that is not the Superman that was raised by Jonathan Kent.
Agreed.
But that's
also,
not. This is
like-
not that
like, it is
Superman.
Also, the
like-
Jonathan Kent that said, "Don't show anyone your powers."
And it's really that's where we have to go back to Man of Steel, which is a movie
He killed
I
people's
kind of
horses.
enjoyed, but it's like ultimately you go back to Man of Steel and you're like, did that lay a very good foundation? Because the Kents in that movie don't really set up the Superman who's at times glib, at
Yeah.
times
Well,
like errant in his powers, like.
The conversation that he has with Martha is like,
Martha
explain
too.
that Martha too, is that you don't need to be what they need you to be, or you can just be who you want to be.
You do you, girl.
Yeah, I
You
feel
do
like
you, boo-boo.
that was almost contradictory.
I like
to
a
the
Superman who's
foundation.
still going on his journey, but the journey
Fucking
needs to
find
be
it
a little bit more
already.
clear. Yeah, it's like, dude, homie.
Well,
Go for it.
Get an Uber, motherfucker.
I've in watching it, I realize he's very much so held back by his love for Lois. And that is a thing that's what gets him in trouble.
Is this
right?
ultimately
Like-
a Bros Before Hoes movie?
Well, no, it's not a bros before a host. It's when a girl who is she's doing her best, but she's dating a god and she's working on levels of gods, but she's a damsel in distress and she becomes a distraction. Isn't that why in some books in the before they rebooted again, new DC Detective
It's not
Comics,
a
whatever.
reboot.
It's a
What?
rebirth.
Yeah, it's a reboot.
9 months later, they're gonna have a Doomsday, baby.
But Superman and Wonder Woman have a relationship, and that's where I'm like, can't you realize like how limited you are by this one entity where you can exist amongst the gods?
Flitz, I think you're saying more about Flitz than you are about Superman. Because a play is gonna play.
But I think that's the problem. Is I feel like they give him that singular hope,
Yeah.
but his singular hope is all put into Lois Lane.
And it should be mankind.
Yeah.
It should be mankind as.
But he doesn't. But he was raised by a man who was like, no, let them die.
Right.
Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
But he's a person. He's not a human in that sense, but that he's an actual alien.
He's the most human of
but
all
he's
of
a
us.
person, and
Yeah.
he loves his mother, and he loves his girlfriend, who's
Sure.
fiance sort of, and he. Why
that was a
shouldn't
wake-up.
he? Why shouldn't he prioritize that? Because every one of us would, because we're people.
and that is holding.
And he's not beholden to humanity or America or anything, just because he could be.
Well, here we are.
He's a person.
Yeah,
You know,
here we
this is
are
what I love about
debating
this
the actualities of what is Superman in general versus what is Superman in this movie.
Right.
Where I feel like that was just one major loss that it had, was it never defined one of its main characters. But like most of the movie, it really didn't define anything. Whether it be the motivation, the thought process people have.
It defined one thing: Superman and Batman, their moms have the same name.
Same name.
Right.
Yeah.
Same name.
Duh.
Same.
Same name.
Same
Same.
name.
Why
It was
did you say
1930. Okay, there was like 4 names.
there were two different publishers.
Yeah.
Like when this started out, so like they probably looked over at each other's cheat sheet and were like, "I'm thinking about creating this Bat character. What's
It's
a good
Swamp
name?"
Thing and Man Thing.
The one thing that they needed to do in this movie was have Batman fight Superman.
Check.
And we knew, like you're gonna fight, but then it's a movie, so you guys are gonna stop fighting and then you're gonna find the actual evil.
You may or
And-
may not kiss in the middle of it.
And the way they did that there was nothing there. It was just like, oh, why'd you say that name? Okay, so there's someone motivating you to fight me right now.
Humanity.
Which honestly, that whole fight could have been like, if he was in the sky, he was like, yeah, I need some help.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight. I just.
He's like, no, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm not gonna fight you.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. But they never did that. And then the fact that Batman knows what his problem is with Superman, though it doesn't make any sense. We've established that this is a world where Batman kills. Cool, I love that.
I do
But then he's like, he knows why he doesn't like Superman. But as soon as he finds out there's a motivation behind why Superman's attacking him, he never goes back to the thought process of, oh, wait a second, no, I still have major beef with Superman because of this.
Because of this is all just because he killed his friend Jack that we had no emotional
Guys,
attachment to.
not only did I not have an emotional attachment to Jack, I think Jack's an asshole.
Jack, get out of the building.
Jack
Why
is
did it take that long to get out of the building in the first place?
by the time he calls Jack, the terraforming weapon is 5 blocks away, and Jack is like,
Get out of the
"Oh,
building.
I thought they were reinstalling Wi-Fi. What the fuck did you think was happening, Jack?
Windows.
I wonder why my reception wasn't going.
Jack, get out of the damn building."
See, there's a
and then
lot-
there's a bit of a problem with Bruce's character at that point in that he lets his friend, who he knows by name, and he gets a pillar off of his legs. he lets him turn into basically a Vietnam vet. Nobody at Wayne Industries is checking whether or not those checks have been cashed. Like, it's like, dude, you knew him by name.
The problem is there's no Wayne Industries. There's no duality of Bruce Wayne and Batman. The duality is he takes the mask off and can get into secret parties. That's the duality, as opposed to like Bruce Wayne using the fact that, or Batman using the fact that Bruce Wayne can do these things during the day that Batman can't do. That's the whole point of Batman.
I like the plot. I like the fact that Lex is like, here's a brand new wheelchair. I love that Lex has these machinations that lead to the Senate building exploding. But when the Senate building explodes, his goal wasn't to blame Superman with the destruction of the Senate?
I would have.
I thought it was.
He even threw his hot Asian secretary into the thing. It's like, all right, go in there.
He killed Mercy.
Did she
And you know
say a
what?
single line?
You know what?
I think she's a
Jimmy
clone.
Olsen also dies during this movie. He's the guy
Yeah.
in,
He's the one
in
who gets the
Afghanistan
thing
who gets
taken?
shot in the face.
No,
Credit-
no,
I
I think that was Jimmy.
That's
Oh, he's the CIA guy.
yeah.
Credit as
That's
Jimmy
too
Olsen.
funny.
I'm like,
Wait,
well,
really?
There goes Batman, Superman's best friend.
Wait, was he really credited as Jimmy Olsen?
They've come out and said it's Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, see, more things this movie doesn't explain.
Hold on, okay.
6-hour cut, bring it.
Yeah, bring it. But I think that there's a lot in there that is good still, guys.
I agree with you.
There is. I mean,
really agree
All right,
with
well,
you.
let's get through the good because
Well, no, I would have
We
loved.
tried.
Yes, the motivation is really wrong why Batman hates Superman, and also to the point where he hates him so much that he forgets when he finds out that their moms have the same name.
Well, he also forgets how many people and buildings he's destroyed.
Right. Oh, exactly. There's a whole problem with
But they were abandoned.
Yeah, where they also mentioned that a couple times. I love that they kind of learned from their problems in the first movie of blowing up a bunch of public buildings, only to lead Doomsday back to the populated Gotham.
they-
They're like, no, it's cool. It's nighttime.
They
There's nobody out.
clearly
Yeah.
say he's landed on an unpopulated island, and Batman's like, I need to get the spear. Oh, great, he's gonna go get the spear. I'm gonna lead him back to Gotham. I'm like, what?
What?
How much do you actually love that city?
Yeah, just go, do a loop around.
Like, unless you have him on a leash, don't lead him there.
I think it would have been great if they kind of Deadpooled it in the sense where everyone going to this is going to see Batman Ving Superman, right?
Yes.
They're going to V each other, right?
Yes.
So
They're
it would have
V
been
each
great.
other hard.
It would have been
I
great.
also wanted the
be
birth
like
of justice, and that
crazy.
I don't even understand.
No,
Where
it's
was
dawn.
that?
The sun comes up.
I know.
It would, I think would have been really cool is if literally it starts with them fighting and you keep having these flashback sequences, nix all of the Senate stuff, but you keep going back
Like
to the motivation.
36 hours earlier.
Yeah, the
Sure.
motivation. My problem is they do too much of the Super Friends. Like meanwhile, that's every 3 minutes.
Actually, that would
is
make it better
meanwhile.
if they said
But
that.
they do every 3 minutes. That's why, like
Yeah.
the fight at the end, I was like, and now it's nighttime and raining, and they're gonna fight. It's like, wait, is this another dream sequence?
Well,
'Cause
the
we've
engine.
had like 8 of those.
This movie is the first 2/3 of this movie is trying to find its kind of engine, and I'm like, okay, it's got to start clicking. Like, let's
Yeah.
get this movie going, and then it starts to go. And Wonder Woman has to check her emails. and we
doesn't
introduce
even
the
make
Justice
sense.
League, and it's
Why
like,
she has email? Because she's a woman. Say it.
Also,
She stole
Now-
that stuff. She stole those encrypted
She couldn't
files because
open
she
it
was looking for
herself.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And because she stole it from Batman and then gave it back to Batman. And so
She just
why
needed
does
to pick.
Bruce have to then send an email? Oh, here, I
but
share
now
it too.
the image
It's
is
you
like
have
out
that
there.
information.
Like if an image you don't want people to see, you don't send it via email.
speaking from personal.
Sure.
I forgive a lot of the Wonder Woman stuff because I
Yeah.
liken it to Black Widow and Iron Man 2.
Oh, she
I'm like-
rocked.
yeah, I was like, okay, it's literally Black Widow and Iron Man 2. All this part of the movie is
Captain
Justice
Black
League
Widow.
Part 0.
I do
on-
wish
but
you wore
on-
pants. I'll throw that out there.
But on a narrative level, if your movie is really clicking, stopping to have this sedentary scene where someone is stopping to literally click through different files individually, it just took the air out of it, and the audience was not excited.
the
to see
YouTube
Justice
section?
League.
The YouTube
The
section?
audience, the audience just kind of.
They should have just released those.
You don't
videos.
want to do what Marvel does, but this is why
But when
Marvel
he
holds
brought
it
up-
to the end of the credits.
When Batman brought up the interface and he sees the 4 Justice League icons and only clicks one, I was like, what?
It's like, bored.
Yeah,
Matt,
and then
I
you
think we
come
coulda-
back to that later. Like, no, that's a one-time thing.
I think
this
we
is a
could have just lived with
computer
the
interface.
icons.
Yeah.
We could have lived with the icons and maybe the cyborg introduction of the mother box. Those were the important beats.
Yeah. Well, what did you like? Okay, so you said there's still a lot that you like about it. Let's really see that. What
I think
did you
Batman was
like?
great.
I like that it exists.
Yeah.
Dude, we're talking about it.
Yeah, I
mean,
like
the
that it
fact that you're
happened.
having
I
the
like what's next. I like Aquaman. I'm gonna like Wonder Woman. I hope. I'm gonna see Suicide Squad. I'm gonna see Justice
I'm
League.
looking forward to Suicide
Like,
Squad.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know-
There's a lot
I'm
of things
looking
that would
forward
have
to it.
changed, but I'm happy that it happened, and I'm excited for what's next.
Yeah.
So positive attitude.
And I think that ultimately, like, it's cool that this movie exists. I think the fights rock at the end
I
of the
think
movie.
Wonder Woman doing her Wonder Woman thing was great.
Yeah.
I think it was awesome. I think that her, the lasso stuff was great.
The
Where
this?
she does the thing, she's like, you tell the truth. Where she throws
You
the lasso.
tell the truth.
You tell the truth. And she's
With her
like-
vibranium weapons.
I think she looked great. I think her zipping into action and like punching and stuff. I
So
was like,
fast.
this is great.
Yeah.
This is great. I think that sequence was fantastic. But again,
Well, that's what the movie should have been.
Batman being Superman,
Yeah.
being Wonder Woman, being Doomsday,
Yes.
being Justice.
And when it is, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's still like.
It took 2 hours to get to that
Question.
point.
So Batman goes to save Ma Kent, which I really did not need images, like kind of rapey images of Ma Kent.
Also, when did
Those
they rub off
Polaroids
the
were
witch
so
stuff on her
sad.
forehead? When
It
did they
was
have time
really
to wipe all
like-
that
Photoshop?
off? Oh,
I mean,
God.
that
was
like, let's keep something.
Lex bought a subscription. Might as well use it.
I mean, yeah.
I think that's just the decision that keeps it from being okay for kids. It's like just imagery like that
I didn't
is
think
like
it was super. It was just her
intense.
face.
But I like the Arkham City like slow mo kills. Like I thought the Batman. I don't agree with him killing. I agree with him crippling heavily. But he doesn't kill.
I like that he escaped with the like hookshot gun.
He kicks some ass. Question though, was there a scene?
cool.
He goes, "I'm friends with your son." He rescues Ma Kent.
shouldn't have said that.
Was there a scene of him getting her either out of the warehouse?
No, he just wanted to let her
full of
know I'm a
thugs,
friend of.
Or did he put her in the Batwing, which makes me think he flew around Doomsday, and then he crash landed with her, and then they all fight, and she's trying to get out of her like seatbelt, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh shit! She's like, what? Oh shit! What? Oh shit!
She's like, "Am I safer in here? Am I safer out there? You tell me."
It's like in Arkham City. It's that little pod that is in the back of the Batmobile.
I was like, what
that he
happened
puts
to
all
Ma
the safety
Kent?
pins.
Actually,
She's
this
still
starts
in
the
that
relationship of Ma Kent and Alfred after he put her in a Batmobile.
I ship it.
That's the
Ship
Donna
it.
Justice right there. All people banging.
The Batman Superman fight was awesome.
Yeah.
I would have loved for Soups to use some of his freeze breath, which is awesome.
Which he's yet to use in any
Yeah,
of the
they
And
movies.
haven't
just be
established that yet.
like, hold up, we're gonna talk about this. You know what I mean? Because it's there, but I thought it was so smart. That was cool. It was like
It
it was like a
definitely showed
boss
how
battle.
Batman could beat Superman.
No, I mean,
if he
but-
doesn't use his freeze breath.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was really even with the helmet on,
Yeah.
all that armor, like
Superman's got to be pretty dumb.
he would have
fall
decimated
for
Batman.
that.
So I stand by that because he landed and Batman was like standing up next to him. He wasn't being Batman. He was trying to be Superman against Superman as opposed to being squirrely
Yeah.
and really. And Superman was
Squirrel
like,
girl
look,
again."
man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Which is honestly, that's why I appreciate it,
that.
because if it was actually Batman versus Superman and they both were out for blood, Superman
3
would
seconds.
rip him apart.
Yeah.
But
That
which is
little
why
bounce.
Superman is just trying to be passive and like,
was
dude,
awesome.
stop. Stop.
That fight
the-
rocked.
Yo.
The best part of that
Horror.
fight was them explaining that the green smoke that he was inhaling like does wear off because he's punching him in the face and it's working, but then it like stops working and like that was the best moment.
It needs to be
May have
established.
been the best moment in the movie.
It
Yeah,
needs
it
to
was
be
fucking awesome.
established that Doomsday is part Kryptonian, part human. Also, I mean,
9
he
months
didn't
from now,
explain
it'll
it
be
very well,
established.
but it was he was spontaneous evolution. Now,
Yeah.
Superman has the same thing. I'm assuming even if you put kryptonite in their lungs,
The kryptonite logic made no sense. He's able to breathe the kryptonite, the like concentrated kryptonite gas, but he's okay after a couple minutes with no sunlight. Yet when he goes down to the bottom of a pool to grab the spear, he can't swim or breathe or come back
Right.
up. Yet he's able to grab the spear
may have been more
and go into
concentrated.
Doomsday. There's not the
It's a
logic.
more
It doesn't make sense.
concentrated
I feel like it's an evolution thing. I'm given the benefit of the doubt.
He doesn't have his freeze breath
He
yet.
experienced it over and over again. He learned to evolve against and handle it more effectively.
And this
whereas
is
Doomsday
after
hadn't
the
had a
nuclear
chance.
explosion, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
after
Yeah.
the nuclear
Yeah, yeah,
explosion,
yeah.
Doomsday
Yeah.
suddenly had the ability to regen, and we don't know if he had that ability
Maybe it's
to
the
begin with.
maybe it's the human
So
DNA.
maybe that attack, that nuclear thing, because we saw him dead,
Yeah.
like he
Well, no,
died,
it-
and he regen. We
Even
saw
before
that
the
happen.
nuke attack,
On top of the
Doomsday
building,
was
right?
getting stronger with each attack.
Yeah.
But he
It could
didn't-
be
he
the
didn't
human
get
DNA.
The
He didn't get his
bones
bones.
and
Bones.
stuff.
I'm gonna notch that up to the human DNA, which I had one question. So Luthor takes Zod's fingerprints,
Naked Zod.
activates the ship. I think in the longer version, I would love to have him be like, "Please turn over ownership of the ship to Lex Luthor." Because
Yeah,
he's
'cause
just
it was
talking
like,
to the
"Hello,
ship
Mr.
as
Luthor."
Lex, and it's like, in the birth of Doomsday, I love that Superman saves Lex. Doomsday attacks Lex,
Yeah.
and Superman stops him.
Yeah.
Would have loved for somewhere in the birth of that sequence for Lex to actually lose his hair.
I wanted like, Doomsday to be
Why
like,
would he
actually
shave it to go to
loses.
prison? It's not like he's going to war. That doesn't happen in prison. You don't shave a
maybe
head.
the
it's
whole
like
thing
a
with
solitary
Doomsday-
confinement type thing.
Doomsday attacking.
So solitary you don't get your hair.
Doomsday
I've
attacking
never
Lex
been in
Luthor.
solitary.
Really?
Never.
Lex attacking or
Look how
Doomsday
long my hair
attacking
is,
Lex didn't
obviously.
make any sense because Lex is like, hey, I'm gonna make Doomsday, and I'm hoping that Batman kills Superman. Lex would have been dead if
Yeah.
not Superman succeeded. It made no sense for Lex Luthor to make Doomsday.
He has a two-tiered plan.
Nothing about
that-
Lex
Because
didn't make sense.
even if Superman dies, and so now, okay, I have a Doomsday
two-pronged
just in
plan,
case. I have a
yeah.
plan. Like, now you should have a giant monster running around.
Well, that was the second plan because he wanted man to kill God, but man failed. So
Yeah.
monster, the favor of
Yeah,
monster.
but even if man had succeeded, you'd still have a giant monster that would have
On
killed him.
He
hold.
probably thought
No,
he could
it-
control because it was partially his DNA.
also, if he
would've been
knows
cool
about
if he could.
the coming of Darkseid, it really is a gift.
Well, now I really want to get to the section where we just start listing and hopefully maybe explaining to me and the rest of the audience the stuff that didn't make sense.
And he saw the movie.
Yeah, you saw it twice. Well, here's my question. 'cause
And
you
you've
did see
read
it
all
twice.
the backstories.
Is there any moment where they line out that Lex Luthor figures out that Clark Kent is Superman?
No, so that's my big thing. There's no allusion toward it. I did notice that it was Lex Luthor the second time watching that he was the one that writing the letters to Bruce Wayne on the
Till he
paychecks
full
and
on
sending
said
them
it.
back.
Sure.
Right.
I knew.
And
that.
which
Yes.
even that doesn't make any sense. It's like one of the letters says, "You let your family die." What does that have anything to do with Superman running rampant and destroying everything?
Well, wait, you let your family
His
die.
business
that's a good
family,
question.
I
So he
guess.
references in a quick line at the end of the movie, it's like it took a couple of red letter notes sent to Bruce
Yes.
Wayne in order to set him off.
That's
so
right, yeah.
Lex Luthor knows who Bruce Wayne is, and he knows who Clark Kent is, but they don't explain that at any point in time.
And if those are monthly checks, that means that those happened over a year.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, Josh.
they don't.
Josh,
But the files are
sorry,
stolen from
Joven.
him, though. The files are stolen from him. The
Yes.
meta files.
Joven, are you asking if Lex knows that Clark is Superman and Bruce is Batman, or are you just asking that he knows who these?
Well, he knows
Well,
who
the
they
fact
are, but
that
they
the
don't
attack
explain.
happened on Lois means that
And-
he knew
yeah,
from the very
no,
beginning.
Well, that could be kind of deciphered on the fact that wherever Lois is,
Yeah.
Superman shows up.
Right.
but his Russian dude was there, ready for her, so he knew she was going to be there.
He knew that there's a link between Lois and Superman.
Yeah, but he
And
doesn't
they-
know that
and
there's a
able to
link
create
between
trap.
Clark Kent
But he
and...
sent
Right.
those pictures of the Batman doing his thing to Clark Kent's
Right.
office, and he also sent a bunch of stuff saying "You let your family die" to Bruce Wayne's office. I just think that would have been great early in the movie where you show Lex actually sending his people, Mercy or the Russian or
Right.
whoever, to figure out like, oh, okay, so Superman is actually this kid from Kansas. This is his family. This is his fiance, and this is Batman. Batman is Bruce Wayne. Got it. Now I can put all my pieces.
And it's
right
also
from the go.
questionable to me that Bruce hadn't figured that out, that Clark Kent is Superman, because
Especially when the Flash from the dreams tells him that Lois Lane is the secret or something like that.
and then,
Like, maybe
and then
that's
you
a hint.
realize, okay, so she lives with this guy Clark Kent though, but she's always with Superman.
They're
but
just roommates,
But they're
guys.
roommates, and she lives with this guy Clark Kent. The
In
fact
the
that-
6-hour movie.
The fact that Bruce hadn't figured that out, and then from there extrapolated the fact that his mom's name is Martha too. We should actually go out for drinks
World's
instead of.
greatest detective.
It really does erode the detective part of
Well, the problem is
the Bruce story.
they throw that out the window in the first line where he goes, "We're criminals after all." Like he's just a
Which-
vigilante.
Right.
I like that
I
they
like
say
that
that. I like that they
acceptance, yeah.
they
Yeah.
establish that. It's like we don't play by the rules. We know this now.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot wrong in the sense of the Martha thing. Like it just kind of happens. Like I said earlier, the problem is there's too many meanwhiles, which is acceptable in comics because you're like, okay, well my brain can continue this story while I read this story.
And I'll read this again in a month.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on, and then there's this stuff with Lois trying to figure out the birth of the bullet, and it also ties back to Lex, and it's Lex blackmailing the Senate to try to he tries to get the ship, and he tries to get the body, but then Holly Hunter's like, you're not going to get the rock, but he already has the rock.
Oh, you know one of my favorite scenes? Jolly Rancher.
Oh yeah, where he puts a Jolly Rancher in the guy's mouth.
Oh, which thank you for going back
Where
to
it is
that.
product placement.
Well,
you know it was.
What I found weird about that scene is Lex goes, I want two things. I want access to the Kryptonian ship,
Yeah.
and I want access to the Kryptonian body.
Yeah.
And then I just thought to myself, I actually said it to my wife, I go, in exchange for
Exactly.
what does
for
this
this
guy
Jolly
have?
Rancher.
Because I thought
It's cherry.
I thought he was sidestepping Holly Hunter's character when she says we're not going to import what you want.
Yeah.
That this guy was then going to allow the importation of the kryptonite, but it was never stated.
I
think he actually made that deal in exchange for a Jolly Rancher.
I think that they actually put those
Could be
scenes
wrong.
in the
Product
wrong
placement.
I
order.
wrote it down.
Yeah.
I think they put them in the wrong order.
Yeah.
I think it was a mistake that someone's
He
like, oh wait,
he
we should
gives him
have
the Jolly Rancher first, and
Yeah,
then he gives it
because
the thing.
it would make more sense if the female senator shows up and is like, hey, yeah, we're not going to
not
give you
gonna do
this.
that.
And then he's like, okay, cool, that
sidesteps
sucks.
her.
Then goes around and goes talk to the guy. They get out of the meeting and he's like, oh, we can help each other. What do you need?
But ultimately, it's still Lex asking for something. And
Is
it's
that
phrased,
old guy
and
in
it's
the
phrased,
Senate when it explodes?
I don't know, but you know what?
Because that could be like an implication that they made a backdoor deal.
He gives Lex the kryptonite if you're assuming that he sidestepped Holly Hunter. He gives Lex the kryptonite, he gives Lex the Kryptonian body, he gives him the Kryptonian ship. I want the post-credit scene to be that guy on an island. Just be like, thank you.
On an island of Jolly Ranchers.
At least that makes sense. But that
Lex
was
set me up.
Literally, that is what kind of stems Lex Luthor being able to defeat Superman,
Yeah.
and they never explain how this could happen.
He had to put all those pieces in place in exchange for.
This movie made a lot of money. This movie made a lot of money, and it's going to make a lot of money because it's not difficult to say Batman fights Superman. This is what everyone wants to see.
And obviously,
it's going to make money.
And obviously, because you've been watching this far, you can't discard this as just, it's a bad movie. And I think a lot of people went into it with this confirmation bias that were like, it's going to be bad no matter what. I'm going to hate it. It's going to be this. And we have to fight this thing, because even if you're a Marvel person or a DC person, you're living in a age where you just got a Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Wonder Woman.
And a lot of it effing rocks.
Yeah, there's a lot that's great.
And I sat down in this movie and I was very hopeful. I enjoyed parts of Man of Steel, as I said earlier. I have Green Lantern on Blu-ray. I go to these movies saying, you know what, 12-year-old me is loving this because I had to live through so many bad iterations of these characters. And now we're getting some done by the greatest storytellers in Hollywood.
I agree. I think you said it best earlier. I think you were saying you weren't mad. Joven was mad right after, but he also had a few beers. You were not angry. You were more sad, like you said earlier, because there's so much potential.
Yeah.
There were so many things. There's so many themes that they set up that they could have explored. It was the government intervention. Is Superman a person, or who does he answer to? Like Batman as a detective, they didn't really explore that. I understand why they didn't set up Wonder Woman's role, because they're giving her a movie very shortly.
Captain America.
And then there were so many things that they didn't set up and develop the way I wanted them to. And I'm cool to look past it because I know so many movies are coming. But then I think they did such a poor job of setting up the next movies too.
Yeah, it's not a matter of it being like an overall it's a good movie or a bad movie. It had entertaining parts to it and it had a lot of potential. But the fact that they can't just make a good there were so many things that you did wrong in this movie. There were things that, as a filmmaker, they should not have done. It didn't make any sense.
Well, the
Could have
problem
been
is
too many cooks.
The movie is a giraffe, right? The movie is a giraffe. It's like
Okay,
well said.
I'm looking forward
Well
to this
said.
analogy.
No, what is a giraffe? A giraffe is basically what happens if God makes animals by committee, right? It's like, ooh, give him a long neck. Ooh, make him spotted. Ooh, give him long ears. Make him a herbivore.
I thought that was a
Yeah,
platypus.
he can only eat leaves.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's like, ooh, there should be a Dark Knight Returns moment in here. Ooh, we should also do a really cool thing where the Senate is trying to attack Superman. Yeah, but we should totally do a Wonder Woman setup for the rest of the movie, and then meanwhile
Also,
her
there's
reading her email.
3 Wizard of Oz references in this movie.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And
Who's that
ultimately,
for, my grandma?
these movies succeed when they're very clear and very simple. And it doesn't mean that they're dumb.
Right.
I mean, Citizen Kane's a pretty simple movie. Casablanca is an intensely simple
Haven't seen
movie.
either, pass.
And the best movie of all time, obviously, is The Bicycle.
Goodfellas.
My favorite movie is The Bicycle Thief. They look for a bicycle. It's super simple, and you can tell all these incredibly profound things that you guys are aspiring to tell. You can do this, branching off this very simple.
My question is, why not? If we're not going to get another movie for 2 years, we're not going to get Wonder Woman.
Suicide Squad.
No. So Wonder Woman comes out next year, and we're
Next
getting
year.
Suicide Squad in August,
But
and
here's-
they're going to start shooting Justice League in 2 weeks.
Here's my fear about Suicide Squad: based on all the stuff that we've seen, I feel like the only Batman stuff we're going to get is him punching Joker on top of a car.
Well, yeah, but
that probably is all we're
but
gonna
it's
get.
not his movie.
I get it, but you leave such a cliffhanger, and then you're like, meanwhile, and you do more nonsense.
That's-
Have we
that is
announced
true.
a Batman movie yet?
And who's
Is
to
there-
say
No.
that that's
No.
not a flashback? In Suicide Squad, it's probably a flashback.
Sure.
Because he does say the line, Gotham doesn't like people in clown suits
Sure.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
And
He
he's
actually
got
has
a
fear
Robin
of clowns.
suit.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's still that conversation that is the Joker and Jared Leto's Joker, the ex-Robin, who
is it Jason?
Batman saw die or saw turn.
Maybe
because
that's the
he
family
does
he
say,
let die.
You see them. Well, he says
That's what I was thinking.
you see them long enough to die or to change or turn.
Right.
And I was like, oh,
Isn't
so
that the
Robin
villain
may have
line?
turned into the Joker.
Live long enough.
Yeah.
Live long enough to
Do
see
I
yourself
like
become a
that?
villain.
But
Is that
again, we're
Earth
doing the
the
same thing
fanboy?
where we're like, guys, the potential, like a
Guys.
month ago.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the
We
ending?
saw some of the potential in the last third of that movie, and
Sure.
they fucking kick-ass action.
Well, okay, let's talk about the ending because that's something that I really liked, and then they I feel like they spoiled the death because they spoiled Doomsday 3 months ago, and we're all like, wait a second, Doomsday. The only reason why they created Doomsday in the '90s was to kill Superman. They're going to kill Superman.
It's not Doomsday because they show the trailer, and then Zack Snyder has a press release where it's like, oh no, that's not Doomsday, which is a fad that needs to stop. Stop showing stuff in trailers and have the director come out and say, oh, what you saw? Oh, that's not what you saw. It's something else. But then it actually is the thing.
This is your Doomsday.
And you know what? We knew Benedict Cumberbatch was.
How do you know that's not just like a? It's like a nod. It's one of the. It's a really
Doomsday. It's Doomsday. The look of him, the powers. It's Doomsday.
It's a berserker from Gears of War.
And Lex yelling, "This is your Doomsday."
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like that. So you spoil the death already, and then you don't kill off your hero and have that Apollo 13 moment where everyone in the control room is going, "He's dead," and then he comes back to life, only to really kill him 10 minutes later.
Oh, with the nuke. So they kill him with the nuke.
He's zombified and doing the Jesus floaty thing like in Man of Steel, and then he comes back to life. Yeah, and then he comes back to life, which I do think, I was like, oh man, he looks a lot like a good Bizarro because he was all crackly and stuff. But then he comes back to life, and then they kill him again. You're like, oh, but they're going to bring him back to life.
Doomsday kills him, but also I think I liked the moment. I would have liked, as a filmmaker, I was like, I kind of wanted the camera to be like on their direct. It's like the biggest decision Superman makes in the movie.
Yeah.
Might be one of the only decisions Superman makes in the movie, sadly. But he knows he's going to sacrifice himself. You know, otherwise Diana dies. The only other person that can chuck that spear into Doomsday with that force, and it probably bounce off of him. If Diana does it, you have to force it through him.
Yeah.
Is Superman, and
she could have done it, and it wouldn't have affected her. By the way,
but Doomsday would have still killed him.
Sure,
you know. So Superman is like, I'm going to sacrifice myself, and I love that. And I love that Lois is like, don't, but I know you have to, and he's like, I'm going to do it. It was shot like I'm shooting you two here. I would have liked for it to be shot just because it is so crucial and important. I wanted him to be looking at her like he's looking at us, like that.
Okay,
I
but
wanted
here's the thing.
And then he goes and does it. I love that scene. I love the death of Superman. After that, I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of like the pieces, but you all know that he needs the sun.
I was like, why are you burning?
And in the time that it takes Lois, I know this is just editing and it's narrative, but in the time it takes Lois,
the sun.
They established that
that's how he healed.
when
That's how he
he's in
healed
space
the
and the sun comes on him and he comes back to life.
I didn't think that was the sun. I thought that there was just time happening.
No, it was the sun.
Clock.
It was the sun cresting the
It was
earth.
just like, and 35 seconds.
But in the time it took Lois to grab a handful of dirt and put it on his grave, Batman goes and interrogates Lex, which I know is just a narrative.
Again, timing issues.
That's just.
Yeah.
I think that's just told out of editing.
Yeah.
But it was a lot to.
Looking at the funeral, which.
You mean the death of Spock?
The death of Spock. So you have Bruce Wayne even says like, oh yeah, the circus is happening where they're burying an empty casket. Okay, cool, that makes sense. We have.
And then Wonder Woman's like, why do you keep bringing up clowns?
Yeah,
Stop.
How does the world not know Clark Kent, Superman, same person?
Well, because a ton of people died at the same time. It was a bunch of people that died in the wreckage of Gotham, which is also funny because they established there's no one in Gotham.
Why didn't you fight him on that island?
They're burying an empty casket. Wouldn't someone be like,
In
wait a
DC.
second, where's the Superman body at?
Well, no, there's a symbol on the box. That's all you need to see.
And there's a chance for
I was
like
gonna open
Swanwick or one of those characters like Swanwick, like the government people, to make an understanding. I want to see the scene after the death of Superman with Wonder Woman and Lois running up on the scene. And Ma Kent finally unclipping herself from the Batwing
like, I got out. What happened?
Of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Lois looking at each other and being like, hide the body. like, let's get out of here.
Well, like, do you even, like, there's so many, I know Zack Snyder loves to give those, like, panel-to-screen moments. You couldn't give us that one iconic shot of Lois holding Superman with the cape flowing from Death of Superman. That one moment, which is so great. And they kind of get there, and then she doesn't do it.
Yeah.
It's like such an powerful scene. It was like 94. It was like a big
was she
thing.
more of a help or a hassle in that?
She was a
thing?
hassle.
Because she's like, oh, hey,
She,
here's
like,
the spear.
take the
Let me
spear
chuck
out,
this
yeah.
in the water.
Oh, let me go get it.
She was in the way the whole time.
And she doesn't even need to, but she's like, oh, wait, this shouldn't be here. I'm going to throw this in the water.
But
and then
by that logic, Batman's a hassle too.
Yeah, everyone is a
but
hassle
he
but
kinda
Superman.
Can I talk about theory real fast?
Yeah.
Okay, so Superman knew he had to sacrifice himself somehow. He knew that.
Love it.
And so when Lois is in his room after he had died, and he's like in the living room, his body's laying there. Martha comes in and says, he sent this to you so you would have it. So he sent a package to her, knowing that she would be at his house then for some reason, and inside of it was an engagement ring.
No, she
and
found it, didn't she?
No,
No,
they sent it to her,
Mark
and then as
Kent-
soon as she puts
yeah.
the ring on and then throws the dirt onto the coffin, then it rises. So I
Mark
feel
Kent-
like the ring could have some kind of significance.
I think what Mark Kent says is he had it sent here to surprise you because
Yeah.
you guys are obviously
Yeah.
checking up together and sharing the address.
Yeah, and,
unless you're Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but
You don't know
they
that.
don't live anywhere near that place. So to
Yeah, but-
send a
but
package
Superman
to his
can
house
get there
makes no
pretty
sense.
Get there
quick.
pretty
Also,
fast.
that's inexpensive. You couldn't put him in a box?
You know what would have been funny if like she throws the ring on the casket and the ring is made out of like a Kryptonian crystal and goes, healing commenced. You know?
That
I
would
mean,
make
but
more
even
sense.
even that like X-Men, what was it, X-Men 3 ending? Where
The
it's like
raising of the dirt?
Well, yeah, where they smash to black right when an action happens, which is the same thing they did in X-Men 3 when he's playing chess in the park by himself and he moves the fucking thing. Like, even that is like, but who cares? Stop. There's no gravity to him coming back. Why,
You'd like
why
for them
can't
to
you
make a decision.
Yeah,
with it,
just do it.
Like, if you're going to kill off your character, and in this case, kill him off twice in the same movie, then stick to your guns. Kill him. Make the audience be like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And then when you have
They
a
did.
Justice League movie, no, because then the you know that he's not dead because the dirt starts to
But
fly.
you don't
Which that's not how
know.
Superman works. That's not how Superman works.
So
We don't know what's going to happen.
And just hearing you, Joven, I just thought, and this was cool. What if he doesn't come back at the beginning of the Justice League movie?
shouldn't.
And all of a sudden they're besieged upon by this invasion of parademons
Sure.
and Darkseid and all this from Apocalypse. Apocalypse is the planet, by the way. So when I said Apocalypse, I wasn't totally
Made
referring to that.
Spelled way differently.
Yeah, spelled totally different. They then say, "Oh my God, we need Superman." In the well, what if the plot of Justice League Part 1, because we're going to go Part 1 and Part 2, what if the plot of Justice League Part 1 is the resurrection of Superman?
The search for Spock.
And in that way, Lois is the key.
Sure.
And then Batman and Lois
I
have
would
to find a
love-
way, as the only humans in the movies, to go and find a way to resurrect Superman. And then he's the weapon that they
Lazarus
take.
Pit.
And then
Eradicator, Cyborg Superman, Steel, and,
they-
Superboy
Yeah.
show up.
well,
Metropolis needs
that's
Superman.
Justice League 1, and then
Yeah.
Justice League 2, we get ourselves the formed Justice League going and kicking some ass.
It's just frustrating because I feel like in all of the things they're doing, they're leading right up to Final Crisis.
Sure.
And they're doing a Part 1, Part 2, and it's going to be kind of the same time that they're doing Infinity War Part 1, Part 2. So it's just there's these, it's the same bullshit.
Infinite Crisis
Yeah.
and Infinity War?
Yeah.
Infinite Crisis.
Well, they're not
Infinity
calling it
Crisis.
Infinite
No.
Crisis. It's
Yeah.
based on the Infinite Crisis story where Darkseid comes to Earth and tries to envelope all the different multiverses
Final
into one.
Crisis.
Which,
And
hey, Grant Gustin in a movie. Let's hope for that.
And
But-
Darkseid War right now, if you're reading the DC Comics, I think Darkseid War is awesome.
Sure. There's good in the comics.
Yeah.
But I think that's the problem is like it's the same bullshit in the 90s where it's the games with the hand on the bat and it's like now Marvel's better, now DC's better, now Marvel's
Yeah.
better. So in 2025 I'm calling it amalgam movies.
Oh, it'd be so tight. That'd be so tight. And now that Valiant's making movies, you can get some Ninjak in
So
there.
now basically in the
Wow,
90s
Ninja
everyone
the
Turtle.
TMNT folks.
Marvel, and for everyone, Marvel filed for bankruptcy in 93, 95, and they were like, we need help. So they decided to do an entire miniseries run where it was Marvel versus DC. So it was all the lineups we always wanted. It was inked really poorly. The writing was meh. There was a lot of bad. But what happened is, in them fighting, they ended up merging the worlds in a weird way, and they created this thing called an amalgam, which an amalgam is a mixture of two things, and they created the amalgam universe, which was DC and Marvel.
Batclaw.
The
you
Batclaw
had
was awesome.
Dark Claw, which was
Dark Claw,
basically
yeah.
Howard the Duck, Wolverine, and Batman merged together.
No.
You had, yes.
Not
It
into
was
it.
such
Yes.
nonsense.
It
You
was
had the Amazon, which was basically Thor, Storm,
Woman.
and Wonder Woman.
Super Soldier.
Yeah.
Super Soldier, which was
kinda
Superman
hot.
and Captain America. You had Spider Boy, which is Spider-Man and Superboy. All these different mergings.
Yo, and Matt, we read every damn
Oh,
one
absolutely.
of them. It was
absolutely
like we had
did.
to read them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was. We had Doctor Strange Fate,
Yep.
which was the laziest of merge names.
I just found so my comic book story is somebody had sadly passed away, and his entire collection had been either gifted or sold to this to House of Secrets in Burbank. And I went into House of Secrets like 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden there was just this a mass amount of amalgam comics, and I was like tempted, but I'm gonna pass. Because I was like, oh, it'd be sick to read all these, and I was like, dude, back in Texas at your parents' house, you still have all these.
Yeah, we all do, and they're worth nothing.
Well,
They're worth memories.
It's true.
if I hope that one day I was actually kind of hoping that this movie would do so bad that it would almost destroy Warner Brothers, so that Disney can then buy Warner Brothers, then we can have that. That's not going to be the case.
These are some of the greatest characters ever created, and
Yeah.
I wish nothing for the best for them. And if the course correction is going to come down, like we think that the course correction is going to start coming down based on the critics' reviews, I wish nothing but the best. I mean, ultimately, I would like to see the arrival of some form of a Kevin Feige-like architect there.
I just
And
hope it's not Snyder.
It could
or
be me.
Deborah Snyder.
I could do it.
Nicole could do
I could
it.
do it.
I think Nicole should do it.
I could do it.
But obviously, like I go back to the idea that I think Greg Berlanti and his team, Mark Guggenheim, those guys are doing some amazing work on television.
But why not give it to DiDio? Give it to Palmiotti. Give it to somebody who was born in this space. And knows
John
these things.
Stewart is an
Raised by it.
architect.
Jeff Johns kind of is that character, but
I'm
only
not
as a
gonna-
public figure.
Yeah.
He does have a hand in all the DC Entertainment stuff, and he
Yeah.
has since before that. So who's to say he hasn't become an architect already?
He may have.
The people
As
doing
we-
the Justice League cartoons.
Yeah, them too.
As we wrap up this episode, we aren't cut into a third segment like we normally do. What I want to do is kind of like a TLDR of your review of Batman v Superman. Like, we threw out a lot of opinions, a lot of ideas, a lot of problems. I want to know, like, your 2-sentence, what's
Thought.
your mini review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice? Starting with you, John
I
Lennon.
enjoyed it immensely and glad it exists, despite itself. That last sentence is going to be that the last third, I think, rocks. The first 2/3 are a bit of a.
Yeah.
We'll find your way through it.
Yep. Blizzard.
A lot of good concepts as a superhero movie, but failed to connect.
You can make full sentences. You don't have to just use words.
I was trying to do I was trying to do like a haiku review.
It's like lightning round. It's not actually lightning
Can I
round.
pitch that? Can I pitch that here? Hey guys, watch haiku review coming up soon. It's just a
project.
575 haiku review.
But yeah, like, I mean, it failed to connect on a human level. I understand Zack Snyder likes wet clothes for one reason or another. I don't know if anyone.
think it's just
like, it was just like
wet clothes.
No, because it was like
In that
wet
we
clothes
agree.
in that movie. It was Superman getting in the tub, wet clothes.
Yeah.
Luthor walking into the water, wet clothes. And jumping into the water, Amy, wet clothes. It was wet clothes. It was really
Raining
interesting.
constantly in Gotham.
It's very cinematic.
When I like them when they're superheroes. When as superheroes, their human sides. We know Batman. I feel like he could have just been Batman. He didn't have to be so super Bruce Wayne. I feel like that took away from a lot from like the vengeance because he was more of a victim and afraid. But it wasn't it wasn't really believable. So it was a good setup, but we're not there.
execution.
It was
For me, I really want to stress that even though this movie is made and will continue to make buku bucks, that does not necessarily
Japanese.
mean it's a good movie. It was an entertaining movie for parts, but it was execution-wise, in my opinion, was not done well. I feel like it could have been and should have been a better. There should have been more storytelling because that's what comic book movies are. They're based on comics, which are stories. And the storytelling in this movie, in my opinion, was very, very far from good. But it made a lot of money.
See, issue 134.
do you bleed green?
No.
Because you did.
Did this weekend twice.
It has my money now. Nicole, what is your review?
I'm also glad that it exists. I'm glad that I saw it. That being said, there were a lot of parts of this movie that I didn't care about. And then on the flip side, there are so many parts of this movie that I didn't understand. So if I'm going to see this movie again, it would have to be a different cut that explains things and takes out parts that I don't need.
I'm going to recut this movie as soon as it's available.
I was
can't
thinking that the whole time I watched it. I'm gonna
Right.
cut this out. I'm gonna move this here.
Which is funny because Matt was actually cutting himself watching it.
Oh, okay. No, it's so
I'm like, I
different.
can't wait to do it. I would put that Batman, the Martha rescue sequence at the beginning of the movie. There's so much that you could do to fix this
Oh
movie.
wow, that'd be really creative. I mean, like you said, add a sequence with the
Well, no,
with,
I'd
the,
skip-
with the framing device of the fight.
Yeah.
And really just pare a lot of that.
Yeah,
stuff
literally
down.
the framing
Yeah.
device of the fight, and then you'd be like, whoa, they're fighting each other, and then you'd back it up, and then you'd show, like, this is why. Remember Man of Steel, remember this, cut out all the Senate stuff. Sorry, go ahead, finish your thought, though. That's
Oh,
my
no,
version.
that was mine.
I like it.
Yeah, thanks. I like it.
Good. I think the 1 or 2 days that Hans Zimmer did a score, that was my only thing that I liked about Man of Steel, was I think the score. I think the score in this was great. I loved the tribal immigrant song that Wonder Woman's theme was. Yeah. And it was
That's
fun.
Immigrant Song.
Yeah, it's basic, but there's drums. I really loved what they did with Lex's score because it's the same notes as the Man of Steel score, but they reversed it and dropped it three octaves.
But that's
I
awesome.
love that.
Yeah, I
I was like,
noticed that
that's
too.
really
Yeah.
smart. I like that a lot. Like I said, and I think I've been saying since the beginning, I think there's a really, really good 90-minute movie in here. I think you can nix all the Holly Hunter stuff. I think you keep the Wonder Woman stuff. I think that there's post-credit sequences. I know that DC is like, we're not doing it because we're contrarian. Just do it. Like at this point, like make it a cultural thing instead of just a Marvel thing, and I think we'll be okay. Like
We just want to love you. You don't need to prove yourself to us.
Yeah, we get
just
it.
wanna
We
love
know
you.
you're cooler and darker than Batman, but we're okay than Marvel, but we're okay with that. I think that there's a solid Batman movie in here. I just think that, to reiterate, I think everything we've been saying for the last hour, it's a mess. It's a giraffe. It's a giraffe. There's too many different things.
mess.
I like
It's a
giraffe.
I do
jackalope.
like giraffes, though.
It's a manticore.
Well, guys, that has been our review of Batman v Superman. It's wordy, but there's a lot of good information in here, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone that showed up here today. And Mr. London, where can the internet find your stuffs?
I'm at Jonathan London on Twitter, and I'm at Geekscape.net. That's our website. You find us on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And then on Instagram, make sure you hit those notices, the notifications. I can't believe
Don't
they
buy
did
into
that.
it, guys.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching Unpopular Kids. Let us know your opinions of the movie in the comments down below, because I'm going to read each and every one of them. We'll see you later.
Bye.
And then I was Pinky on Pinky and the Brain, and I got all nervy every time I, get along with my friend Maurice LaMarche, who played the Brain. And then let's see, you are looking at 50% of the Ninja Turtles.
Batman Beyond, like more of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your conviction is really selling it.
No, like it's a great world. I mean, it got a nice little wrap up with Justice League doing that like final.